Trial Tuesday, and once again, the weather is warming up, and that means getting your furry friends outside to play. Today, David Aylerman, whose bark matches his bite when he's in the courtroom, is here to discuss dog bites and what to do if you your dog bites somebody or you yourself get bit. Counselor, thanks so much for being here. This happens, you're telling me, all the time, and of course a lot of people might not know the legality, but you could be at fault if your dog bites somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. You see it happen in a lot of different environments. First of all, what we're used to seeing, or most people are probably familiar with, is their own dog or a dog, within their yard, maybe a child running into the yard, or the mailman or a visitor to the home and getting bit. And obviously, of course, that's easy to see the liability there that would go against the owner of the dog, short of it being some way that you were trying to taunt the dog or frustrate the dog. However, lately we've seen in the last several years a lot of more acceptance of dogs in public events, sporting events, food events,
some bars and restaurants here in the Lowcountry.
Correct. And that's great, of course, that people are able to bring out their dogs. However, what you do see is some issues that come from that. Sometimes it's dogs fighting each other, which leads to the injury of one of the dogs. Also, I've seen a couple cases I've had where dogs will start to get into it, and one of the owners will try to stop the dogs, and then the owner himself or herself actually get injured.
Right. A lot of people, that's their natural instinct is to reach in and just kind of separate those two dogs apart, and that's when those injuries happen.
Exactly. And, there's clear liability if it's your dog, and it doesn't matter where you are, as long as you're in, the person who's being attacked is legally allowed to be there. So you're not going to have much room to wiggle around regarding the medical bills and other potential, compensation that you may have to pay, the shots and everything that comes with it.
So even if that's not on your property, say you're out on a public street, a sidewalk, something, walking your dog, you're still going to be at fault too?
Absolutely. So that's what you have to do, is you have to be very careful when you're taking your dog somewhere. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes at these larger events, people will bring their dog, and unlike a child who they're constantly paying attention to, they start to conversate, socialize, pay attention to the event going on. Maybe their dog starts to look elsewhere, and either towards other people or towards animals. And probably the scariest, of course, is with children. Children don't really know the boundaries often, and then they'll try to do something that they're used to doing maybe with their dog, but another dog doesn't like them being that close to them, and you have some serious injuries.
And it's really up to you as an owner to be responsible and make sure that that dog is on a leash and being taken care of.
Absolutely, and not just on a leash, because sometimes, believe it or not, a lot of these fights will happen even when they're on a leash, but paying attention to where they are on that leash. If you're kind of holding it back, looking the other way, that direction, a lot of people are coming by other dogs. You just have to make sure that you're careful, because if you're not, and you do injure another person or another dog, you're going to look at some potential civil liability and paying a lot out of the pocket.
How exactly does evidence mount up in these cases? Is it he said, she said kind of a thing? Or?
Well, it can be, and that's why it's important, no matter what side you're on, is make sure you have a lawyer. Sometimes you can get, civil, basically, notices or tickets that they'll give you for leash laws and things like that, but it's usually not a criminal matter in most cases. However, when you are looking at the civil side, you're right. Each owner may say it was your dog, not mine. That's where you got to look into an investigation witness, because this thing can get expensive, particularly if someone has serious injury.
I was going to ask you, do serious injuries mount up enough that it's worth a lawyer taking on that case and going to a court and a judge hearing it and having a jury trial?
Absolutely, particularly when you think about little children and the phobias that sometimes are created with a dog bite and a dog attack. And the medical bills, they're expensive, particularly when you have disfigurement and things like that. People have serious injury. Sometimes it takes cosmetic surgery. There's a number of things that come into play. So if your dog is involved, you definitely want to have a defense lawyer to try to help you and look at the situation, try to mitigate it. On the other hand, of course, if you're a victim, you absolutely want to have somebody help you along the way.
Another situation I'm thinking about is maybe a dog doesn't even have to bite you. Maybe they're running after something else, chasing something, and just kind of hit you and knock you down. That can be another way people get injured too, right?
Right, exactly. Any kind of contact, and that's what will happen sometimes. The two dogs fighting, and it just gets out of control, and someone gets knocked down from that, slammed to the ground. I had a lady I represented who hit her head on the curb because she sort of lost her balance while trying to control the dog. Absolutely liability on that situation.
Certainly scary stuff right there. So a message to all you pet owners out there: make sure that you're responsible and you got that dog or pet securely fashioned on a leash, and again, under your attention. Attorney David Ayler, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Do appreciate your time. Great insight right there. Stay with us. We're back with more Lowcountry Live in just a moment.
Trial Tuesday, brought to you by attorney David Ayler.